This short video is on how to read the MSP Rating Handbook, and this is what is required for all law enforcement reports. So if you are doing your internship in a police department where you're doing road patrol, then you are required to use this MSP handbook for your reports. The book looks like this. It's not very expensive. And what this book does is it makes sure that you have all the elements of the crime in your report. And what are elements of the crime? Well, if we look at the crimes code, what is it that makes this crime what it is? So if you remember back to the misconducts, we were looking for what elements did it require, for example, a fighting charge. This is the same thing, only now we're broadening it to for an arrest. And so we're going to review robbery. What are the elements that need to be in a report when you have a robbery? So, going too fast here. So the table of contents, which is kind of unclear, and that's why please download the robbery handout, because you can't read. I guess once you PDF something and then upload a PDF, it's kind of blurry. But the table of contents gives you the different types of crimes. And so we're going to be looking at robbery, which is the 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth one down. It has a file class number of 1200, which matches up to the Uniform Crime Reports. Remember studying the FBI, UCR? Well, this is how the state then reports these crimes based on these file classes. So if you look at your example, under robbery, we're given the subcategories that should be in a report. Now, they give you all of the subcategories. Some of them may not apply, so then you don't put them in. But what each one of these categories does is they lay out the information that you will need as you proceed and ultimately make this a legally defensible report. So let's kind of review a few of these. So robbery starts with information, which is really kind of summarizing what is occurred. And it says narrative should explain the nature of the incident, a description of what was reported, the mode of receipt, officers' activity at the time of receipt, the progression of events until arrival at scene, and any other relevant facts. So mode of receipt is how did they hear that there was a robbery? So the next category or the next subheading would be venue. And under venue, it says narrative should give an exact location of the scene where the incident occurred, including street address or approximate location from cross streets, city, village or township, county, and state. So all that has to be listed under venue. So for example, if the robbery occurred in my office, the officer would write the street address was 525 Bishop Hall, 1349 Kramer Circle. Big Rapids is the city. I'm not in a village or township, so it would be comma. The county is Mecosta, and then the state is Michigan, and all those things would be listed. Let's look at date and time. Narrative should include the day of the week. So today is Thursday as I'm recording this, so it's going to give Thursday, the month, the date, the day, and the year, and the time that the incident occurred. Now, sometimes reports come in after the victim discovers something happened, particularly in Michigan where a lot of people have secondary housing. So the other thing that is also required in this should also include the date and time the complaint was received and dispatched. So it might be a month after a crime occurred, particularly like for burglaries. But robbery, it might be that the victim is knocked out and then they come to. So the time doesn't match when the actual robbery happened, it matches when they called the police. So as we go through, the next one, as you can see, is scene. Narrative should include officers' time of arrival, initial observations, and what steps were taken to protect the scene. Information from first person at the scene other than the officer should be included. So this is showing you all the things that you need to not only include, but also to do when you first arrive at a robbery scene. Each one of these headings includes, as I said, the elements of crime, or what does it take for someone to be charged under robbery. Now, not all not all categories will be used, but as we can see, robbery is a long one. And so on the second page, it's asking about weapons, if we take any photographs of the scene, do we collect any evidence? Were any latent fingerprints found and taken for evidence? Were there any witnesses? Did we interview those witnesses or witness, and what was their name and what did they say? Do we have a suspect? And then on the third page, did the suspect flee the scene? Was there a vehicle involved? And was there any stolen property? And then they list at the end any other possible headings that you might use. For example, they have, and this is the spelling error that I've talked about, they have advice of rights. It should be advise of rights. So let's say that you're also the one, maybe the suspect is somebody that works at the bank and thought that they could get away with it. And so you take the suspect into custody. Then you would advise them of their rights. So you would use that one. Maybe you're doing what is referred to as a supplemental report, adding on to the original report, and the crime lab analysis comes back. So now you're going to do a supplemental page with crime lab analysis. And so ultimately, with laying out the elements of crime, you now have covered specifically all the information that is needed.